Keir Starmer's government has hit a major political crisis, with cabinet ministers in revolt just weeks before the highly anticipated autumn budget. Senior Labour ministers, including Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner and Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood, have taken the unprecedented step of writing directly to Starmer, bypassing Chancellor Rachel Reeves, to express their deep concerns over the massive spending cuts set to hit their departments. This extraordinary rebellion comes as tensions inside Labour's top ranks reach a boiling point over the government's handling of the country's crippling £40 billion funding gap. But before we dive into the full story, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any of the latest political news and explosive updates coming out of Westminster. With the October 30th budget looming, speculation is rife over how Reeves will navigate the economic storm facing Labour. After a summer of economic promises and fiscal optimism, reality has hit home. Labour inherited an economy in dire straits after years of Conservative mismanagement. The £40 billion hole in public finances has forced Reeves to consider drastic cuts across the board, including to key public services, housing and transport infrastructure. The backlash from within her own cabinet is threatening to unravel Labour's carefully crafted image as the party of competence and stability. Angela Rayner, in particular, has been a vocal critic of the proposed cuts. As Deputy Prime Minister and head of the Ministry of Housing, Communities and Local Government, she has been tasked with overseeing some of Labour's most ambitious social programmes, including the expansion of affordable housing and community development projects. Yet, with the Treasury demanding cuts of up to 20%, Rayner fears these vital services will be gutted, leaving some of Labour's core promises undelivered. Sources close to Rayner have described her as furious over the scale of the cuts and the lack of flexibility from Reeves and the Treasury. The pressure on Starmer is building as Rayner's internal opposition is joined by other key figures like Justice Secretary Shabana Mahmood, who is equally alarmed at the prospect of severe cuts to the justice system. The already struggling criminal justice sector, burdened with a backlog of over 68,000 cases, could face a funding cut that would leave it unable to function effectively. Mahmood has warned that slashing her department's budget could result in lengthier delays for court cases, overcrowded prisons, and a system that would, in her words, fail both the victims of crime and the public who depend on justice being served. In a move that has stunned political insiders, Rayner, Mahmood and Transport Secretary Louise Hay have all reportedly written personal letters to Starmer, urging him to reconsider the cuts and provide more support to their departments. Going over the head of the Chancellor in such a direct manner is unheard of in modern British politics, and this move reflects the desperation felt by ministers who see their departments at breaking point. While Reeves remains focused on closing the fiscal gap, ministers are pleading for her to take a more nuanced approach, suggesting that cutting so deeply in crucial areas like justice, transport and housing will undermine Labour's broader goals of building a fairer, stronger economy. However, Reeves is determined to show that Labour can balance the books, insisting that difficult choices must be made to secure the country's long-term financial stability. Treasury officials have warned that without these severe cuts, Labour risks losing the confidence of financial markets, which could lead to higher borrowing costs and cripple the government's economic agenda. Reeves, who has adopted a fiscally cautious approach similar to former Chancellor Gordon Brown's, has reiterated her commitment to Labour's golden rule: borrowing only for investment and not for day-to-day spending. This is designed to reassure investors that Labour is serious about managing the economy responsibly, but it has left many in the party wondering whether the government is doing enough to protect the most vulnerable. Adding to the tension is the growing discontent within the Labour Party itself. MPs on the left of the party, as well as trade union leaders, have expressed concerns that the government is abandoning its core principles. Labour was elected on a platform of protecting public services and ending austerity, but the scale of the cuts now being considered threatens to alienate Labour's base. Some have even suggested that the government is too focused on appeasing financial markets and not focused enough on delivering for the people who voted for them. As the budget deadline approaches, the internal divisions within Labour are becoming more pronounced. Ministers are frustrated that they are being asked to make enormous sacrifices in their departments, while Reeves has signalled that tax rises will also be necessary to close the fiscal gap. The The Chancellor has reportedly been exploring options such as raising national insurance contributions on employers, increasing capital gains tax, and possibly reintroducing fuel duties that were frozen during the Conservative years. These potential tax hikes have already sparked criticism from businesses and the opposition, who accuse Labour of driving investment out of the UK and stifling economic growth. Despite the pressure, Reeves remains adamant that the only way to stabilise the economy is through a combination of spending cuts and tax increases. Her focus on restoring fiscal credibility is designed to ensure that Labour can maintain its ambitious plans for long-term investment in areas like green energy, infrastructure and digital technology. Yet, the short-term political costs of this approach could be devastating for Labour. While Starmer has tried to play the role of mediator, his leadership is now being tested like never before. Can he keep his cabinet united in the face of this rebellion? Or will the mounting frustration lead to resignations and a full-blown political crisis? Rayner, a key figure within the party and a symbol of its working-class roots, could become a rallying point for those within Labour who feel the government is straying too far from its principles. If Rayner or Mahmood were to resign, it would send shockwaves through the party and could even threaten Starmer's leadership. Opposition parties are already circling, sensing Labour's vulnerability. The Conservatives, who have yet to recover from their own internal struggles, see an opportunity to attack Labour on both its fiscal management and its political cohesion. Tory MPs have branded the upcoming budget as the beginning of the end for Labour, accusing Starmer of presiding over a government in chaos and Reeves of financial mismanagement. Even within Labour's ranks, whispers of leadership challenges are starting to emerge as disillusionment grows. Beyond the Westminster bubble, the British public is becoming increasingly anxious about what this budget will mean for them. With inflation still high, interest rates on the rise, and public services already stretched thin, voters are bracing for more economic pain. Labour's ability to sell its budget to the public will be critical in determining the party's future. Can Reeves convince the electorate that short-term sacrifices are necessary for long-term gain? Or will the backlash against cuts and tax increases doom Labour's chances of staying in power? As the clock ticks down to October 30th, all eyes are on Keir Starmer and Rachel Reeves. Will they be able to unite their party and deliver a budget that balances fiscal responsibility with the needs of the people? Or will Labour's internal divisions and economic challenges prove too great to overcome? The stakes couldn't be higher for Starmer's government, and the next few weeks will determine the future of the Labour Party and possibly the UK economy. Stay tuned as we continue to track this story. Make sure to like and subscribe for more updates on Labour's battle to save the economy and its political future.